Hello, I'm James Baker with the Safer Consumer Products program at DTSC. Welcome to our SCP training series on complying with priority product regulations. See the full list of training videos on the SCP Training Materials webpage or in the YouTube description. This video will outline the abridged alternatives analysis process. The abridged AA is an expedited process that can be used when a preliminary alternatives analysis yields no feasible alternatives. It's a faster route to the research and development of a safer alternative. The abridged AA report must consider the first 5 steps of the AA process, which we'll summarize in the following slides. For a more detailed dive into those 5 steps, please review the training video for the preliminary alternatives analysis. In addition to those first 5 steps, the abridged AA requires the manufacturer to analyze the economic impacts and performance of both the priority product and its alternatives. Once you, as a responsible entity, submit an abridged AA report, there will be an opportunity for the public to comment on it, followed by DTSC review and revisions from you, if necessary. Once the review is completed, DTSC will issue the appropriate notice, and the process moves to regulatory response. The timeline for all of this is approximately 315 days. The clock starts when the regulations go into effect for a priority product. The manufacturer must submit a priority product notification within 60 days, and the due date for the abridged AA report is 180 days. Once DTSC receives the abridged AA report, public comment begins for a period of no less than 45 days. DTSC then has 30 days to review relevant public comments. At this point, the responsible entity has the opportunity to review and revise the abridged AA report. The amount of time allowed for this depends on the scope and complexity of the public comments. DTSC will review the revised report, and within 60 days will issue a notice of determination, which could be a notice of compliance, a notice of deficiency, notice of disapproval, or a notice of ongoing review. Again, this entire process is approximately 315 days, start to finish. The first step in the process is to identify how important the chemical of concern is to your product, to how it functions, and to its performance requirements and legal requirements, if any. The goal is to determine whether the chemical of concern is even necessary, and if so, to help identify potential alternatives. The second step is the identification of alternatives. This can mean more than just a drop-in chemical replacement. The SCP process has a broader scope and asks you to start by considering a wide range of alternatives like product redesign or a change of materials, reformulation to reduce the chemical of concern or eliminate it altogether, or changes to the product or the manufacturing process to reduce exposure to the chemical and/or to reduce its adverse impacts. These are all considered alternatives in the SCP framework. A good place to start when considering alternatives is the SCP website, where you can find the priority product, its product chemical profile, and some alternatives. The third step is the identification of relevant factors. Factors are considered relevant if they make a material contribution to any adverse impacts and if there is a material difference between the proposed alternative and the current priority product. These factors should be considered across the product's entire life cycle, from raw materials extraction to end of life, to identify important exposure pathways and relevant adverse impact categories. This is also important to avoid shifting the burden from one life cycle area to another. The fourth step in the process is an initial evaluation and screening of alternative replacement chemicals. This step is necessary to avoid regrettable substitutes. It's where you'll compare any alternatives with the chemical of concern in the priority product to determine which has less of an adverse impact on public health and the environment. Any alternative that has the potential to pose greater adverse impacts should be eliminated during this step. Step 5 allows for consideration of additional information that has not been specifically requested in the earlier steps. You may consider things like cost and technical feasibility, and you can use these factors to eliminate an alternative from consideration as long as you provide clear rationale in your abridged AA report. If you complete these 5 steps and determine there is not an alternative that's functionally acceptable or technically feasible, this is when you may submit an abridged AA report instead of completing the full 2-stage AA process. This report must include the 5 steps we just reviewed, as well as 2 additional steps: a review and comparison of the priority product's function and performance with the function and performance of any alternatives, and a comparison of the economic impacts of the priority product and its alternatives. This includes cost to public health and the environment, and the cost to government agencies. When a responsible entity completes the abridged AA process, instead of the full 2-stage AA process, 2 regulatory responses are required: product information for consumers and advancement of green chemistry and green engineering. Product information for consumers requires the responsible entity to provide specific information to consumers both at the point of sale and on the manufacturer's website in a manner that makes the information easily available prior to purchasing the product. The advancement of green chemistry and green engineering may require the responsible entity to initiate an R&D project or fund a challenge grant using the principles of green chemistry and green engineering to achieve one or more of the following: design of a safer alternative, improve the performance of an existing safer alternative, decrease the cost of a safer alternative, or increase the market penetration of a safer alternative. While these 2 responses are required when the abridged AA process is complete, DTSC may choose to implement additional regulatory responses if deemed necessary. Additionally, as the responsible entity, you may include the identification and implementation plan for any regulatory response or responses you wish to propose. Additional resources can be found on the CalSAFER website. Not only is this the main hub to submit documents, like your priority product notification and abridged AA report, but it also contains training videos designed to make the process as smooth as possible. The SCP Alternatives Analysis Resource webpage is the home of the AA Guide, examples, and frequently asked questions to help guide you through the process. This video provided just a brief overview of the Abridged Alternatives Analysis process. For further information, please refer directly to our SCP Regulations webpage, where you can find more information about the SCP regulations and a link to the regulations themselves. We also encourage you to join the SCP Program email list, or eList, to receive the latest information and updates from the department on upcoming regulations, events, and workshops. Finally, if you have any further questions, feel free to contact us at saferconsumerproducts@dtsc.ca.gov. Thank you.